running around differentiators are, we don't just have Latin America, we don't just have India. We have about 15 pods, we have 4 in Latin America, 4 in Ukraine, and then, about 10 others across the country, Canada, whatever. So it looks like this. If you have a specialty need, we can find it. UX, UI, AI, machine learning. If you have a certain time zone need, or if you have a compliance need, to be honest, I've been running away from data, but I think I should start running towards data. Because the people that have compliance issues are the ones with the biggest troubles, right? So in instance, Canada actually, in our CTO can come up and introduce himself and talk better, but I like to say our specialty is process and data. So in COVID, we actually helped companies go digital. Now we're helping you go agentic AI. So we're very emerging around, what's the latest technology, what's the latest things people are doing. And we have the pods of engineers across the globe, depending on your time zone need and your specialty needs. And we have this awesome CTO you're going to hear 10 minutes from later that can fraction if there's a fit. So sometimes you'll have startups that are not technically, they're technical startups, but they may not have a CTO yet. And they may not even have like a software or technical architect. So that's who that's who is going to meet you later. And so he can actually help you scope from, he can give credibility from the point of your pitch deck, right? So he can, if you don't have someone that can actually sit as a CTO in your pitch deck, that's one of the things, someone like Joseph Malou, who's one of the biggest founders in this area, that's one of the things he would look for in your pitch deck is a technical leader like Alex. He would also look for, he would look at your code, right? Is your code built well? If not, why would he fund a piece of crap, right? So, we can make sure your code looks good. And we can actually develop your MVP, your product, or we can augment wherever you need, whenever you need. So if your product's done, and sometimes if you have compliance issues, you might not give away your core, but things like QA, non-core, all that stuff you can augment to someone like SVITLA. And again, my CTO takes 30 minutes of your time to scope and to architect, and in that 30 minutes, he'll have a job description written. And, a couple weeks later, he'll even have your resources interviewed and deployed. So if you want to go to market quick, have your MVP developed quicker and well, architected well. If you want your technical process, your UX, all that to look good, hire SVITLA and our architect, Alex, which you're going to meet later. He's not the company. We have a huge company who's been around for 20 years and we're growing at a 50% rate. And so, but the fact that we have a CTO is a differentiator.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll have the house up here in a little bit as well. And I think after this, we have Insperity.
Oh, yes, Gray McDowell, Business Performance Advisor with Insperity, and Paul, thanks for having us here. We're always happy to come and partner and sponsor Tank Capital. So Insperity, we're a PEO. That's a professional employer organization. We're the group that invented that model about 40 years ago. We're based out in Houston, although we're a national group. 2 offices here in Austin, for example. But what we do is we go in and we partner with growing early stage companies and help entrepreneurs put in place the infrastructure to grow their company, including payroll, employee benefits, all the technology to manage their employees, streamline their operations. But the model is very unique in that we co-employ the employees of our client company, and we take a lot of the risk of being an employer off their shoulders. So, it buys peace of mind for the entrepreneur as well as the investors that they're protecting their investment and doing the right things as they grow their company, getting everything properly set up. We look at it as long-term partnership. We work with our average client stays with us for 9 years, stages of growth. So, we really like to help companies get the right people to grow the company, retain those employees, build an engaging company culture, and do everything that they need to do to protect the company. And then if we do things properly, we'll help them save some money while they do all those very important things.
Yeah, and you guys are one of the only licensed PEOs, right?
We were the first certified with the IRS.
Yeah.
And the big ones and the well-known ones all should be certified with the IRS. So, yeah, we are indeed.
Very important.
Good, that is a good point.
So the other guys that will be presenting will come up here in a few moments, but before we do that, we're gonna go around, we're gonna just have each person tell us about themselves and what you do, your investor, your partner, whatever. Rich, you wanna kick off a little bit?
Sure. I'm Chris Sheets. I work, where I founded 1839 Ventures, small venture capital company here in town. Primarily focused on, overseas companies for the past 7 years, working with, early stage technology funds or firms and, mentoring those, also, similar to the other, gentleman back here, helping those to scale. And then basically what our idea was, is to bring those companies to the United States, validate them, and then, do hyper growth. So we're just dabbling around at the moment.
My name is Matt Brenner. Spent 15 years as an operator in a bootstrap vertical SaaS. Exited in 2022 to Blue Star up in Dallas. Now I'm an investor. I'm a founder, multi-time founder. I've invested in B2C applications. I've invested in B2B applications. I'm here representing my startup, which is Startup Rank, which is kind of like better help for startups. So it's a place where startups could go get discovered, get on-demand advice from experts, not just in like growth things, but like product things or any kind of question. Like for example, you have an issue, if you're maybe less of a technical founder, you're having an issue in AWS, you just need to talk to someone for 30 minutes. You hop on, you find one of our vetted experts that can help you with your problem. We transact that like Airbnb, and then you're on your way. And then we are primarily focused on helping those startups get from 0 to 1 and hand them off to the growth investors that can take them from there. So I'm here looking for startups that want to kind of be a part of our launch and see if I can help you guys get from 0 to 1. And if you have some advice to give, we'd love to talk to you as well.
Great. Next.
Oh, hello. Juan Thurman, Managing General Partner at New York Climate Capital. All fund here in town. We invest in climate, very early stage climate tech companies, mostly in Texas, but all over the Central U.S.
Great, thanks.
My name is Dennis Menendez. I have about a half dozen startups, some I own, some I invest, some I advise, some I promote. What I'm here for is to learn more about how you're raising capital. We've gone through a tremendous transition these last few years. And now with the markets performing better, there seems to be more money now available. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. All my startups are international, so they are based here in Texas, but our business transactions are global.
Great.
Ramakrishna Prakash, we are a holding company. I'm CEO of the holding company called Trusted Care Holding. There are a few investors who primarily focus on specialty healthcare. So we look at partners of this to augmenting our core product, which is deep risk analytics. Will enable people interested in that area. We're constantly looking for acquisitions and partnership opportunities in that space.
Great. Next.
Hi everyone, I'm Jake. I work at a company called Spoke, so we're a service provider for startups and people that are early stage companies. So we help with staffing and fractional HR support. So if you guys need help with staffing, if you guys need help with hiring, you know where you can find me.
Everybody, I'm Matt McGuire. I help teams double in software delivery without hiring or adding additional teams.
Ron's ready done. Ready done. Partial? Nolan.
Yeah, my name is Nolan. I currently am a senior analyst at the Baylor Angel Network. So if you guys are interested in being an angel there, come talk to me. And I also work at Dell right now.
What's the item?
Hi, I'm Rich Weir. I run Broadband Ventures. We basically incubate companies. Our specialty right now is metadata resistant agent swarms. I've been in the venture capital space since 26 is when I raised my first $3.5 million.
with Wilson Sonsini in Palo Alto. I've been around venture capital ever since. I used to run Novell Corporate Technology. I ran Novell Venture Capital. I ran Old Angel, our academic funding for them for during the Eric Schmidt term. And then right now, I'm a new kid in the block, and Rob was very kind to say, "Hey, Rich, why don't you come to this?"
So, Phil, next. What's up, everyone? Phil Gatcher here, founder and CEO of Camp. In a past life, worked for startups and VCs for almost 19 years. Life Bank, Venture Capital Chicago, pumped out over 7 unicorns in under 2 years, which is pretty impressive. One of the fastest ones is Groupon, which I'm sure everyone knows. I'll skip a couple chapters, but now currently run Camp. We do some of the best startup and VC events in the world, specifically, I guess, US, but it's Europe, South America, so I like to say world, South America. We help founders and investors get together and network and raise capital and funds. We have a really strong network in most major markets. We also do private events for organizations that either want to give back to their communities, for their staff, or for prospects to essentially close large deals in the fast lane, which we're seeing a lot of success with. And we're launching capital raising very soon for anywhere from 10 to 50 million, starting in a month and a half from now. So pretty excited about that. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you, Brian. Brian Clay, I'm the co-founder and owner of William Price Distilling in Houston, Texas. So the experience our investigators are popular for. And I'm here, I'm doing a capital raise right now. I'm here to check it out, take Capital Network, see if they can be a good partner. Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm MJ Pastanani. I am an entrepreneur, third-time founder, CEO of an Austin, Texas-based company. We are a technology and information services platform, and we are the future of live music.
Cool. Wes the King. I run my own fund that focuses on distribution. We like to invest in really early startups when we think we have a 20 million contract or more for them. I've done a lot in neurotechnology, health and wellness technology, things like hydration and health span and stress reduction and sleep improvement, those kinds of things. I also run deal flow for a healthcare family office, and specifically are looking for deals where there's already lead investors.
Great. And I think you're the last one.
Hi, guys, I'm Marcus Weller, cognitive science background, the AI for invention. So it's AI for deep tech. So you basically can invent and advance new intellectual property using AI.
Thank you for that. Rob, does anybody else want to mention that?
Brandon is here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Middleton Pratt. I'm a corporate partner at Wilson Sonsini's Austin office, where I work with startups, innovative companies, all stages of the private life cycle, and the investors that invest in them, both venture, private equity, and in a previous life search.
Yes, that's it. Lucas is not here, so you may show up later.
All right, thank you. Any round of introductions, now to our pitches. First one up is going to be Enrichly. So pass it over to Troy.
If we'll let folks find a seat.
Okay, you guys in the front back, you can sit up here. You're welcome to be on the front three rows here, right? All right, so somebody else. Sorry. No, I'm just saying, yeah.
All right.
But Alex can sit up here if you like it as well. And with that, we're going to pass it over to Tori. Yeah. So, take off.
Sure. Hi, I'm Troy Medley. I'm your founder of Enrichly. I'm also the chief executive officer of Atlantic Alpha Fraternity, the largest fraternity in the world. Before I joined Atlantic in 2019, I built and sold 2 companies in the healthcare space. And when I got to the not-for-profit world, I was shocked by its complete and utter lack of sophistication, and realized something needed to change within a massive industry. And so today I'm going to tell you about a very simple business that's designed to dominate a massive untapped market that nobody talks about, even less people understand. So who knew that fraternities and sororities generate $2 billion a year in revenue?
$400 million a year in logo merchandise sales like this. There are 9 million Greek alums. I met some of you today. There are 750,000 Greeks in college in August, and 150,000 freshmen will join fraternities and sororities, and they will immediately begin spending massive amounts of their parents' money on logo merchandise. I know this, I have 2 kids in college. The problem is, of that $400 million, only $12 million were remitted back to organizations like mine. Well, now, there are many reasons for this. Number one being 80% of all commerce is delivered in places like, well, not like Austin, little college towns by mom and pop shops. They usually aren't licensed, they're not regulated, and they're selling our chapter cheap merchandise. They're not paying for use of our marks. Now, part of this is our industry's fault because we are so fragmented. There's 200 fraternities and sororities. We have not worked together to create strong licensing and to police our trademarks, which is our own fault. And at the same time, we have 9 million alumni who are begging us for services year after year. We haven't had the technologies, we haven't had the capital to build the technology to meet their needs across time and space. So what I realized we needed was a quasi for-profit trade association. My organization partnered with 2 other massive organizations, Alpha, Beta, and Teep, and we launched Enrichly in late 2023. And Enrichly's primary job is to become the official storefront for every one of these huge not-for-profit. They completely outsource their e-commerce and their sales of their branded merchandise to us. What that means is for the end user, for the kid at Ole Miss, they think they're buying from their fraternity when they're actually buying from Enrichly. We get full access to that brand's database. We get to market through their brand portal, and we get to sell directly to and through their chapters. And then we partnered with Collegiate Licensing Corporation, which manages the brand ID of 800 colleges and universities, which means we get co-branding rights. So I can now put the University of Texas next to Lambda Chi Alpha, upcharge for that. And we now have the legal muscle we need to protect our trademark, fight pirates out there everywhere. In addition, because we are the industry, we created a win-win ecosystem that benefits everybody. Our students that are buying a cheap Gildan t-shirt now can buy Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Peter Millar, 5% below the books. Our chapters get 2% cash back on everything they spend, and the kid that's been selling stuff behind the building stuff and selling it behind the security house can now sell it to our channel commission on their design. Where we used to get 6% royalty from wholesalers, we now get 10.5%. Firstly, TLC is now negotiating on our behalf. So we've created a model where everybody makes more money. Enrichly makes about 43% gross margin. On a $35 t-shirt, we give $2.50 away for our customer acquisition cost. Be able to give these freebies so we can win market share. We're on something really, really cool, specialty product like this. I'll sell this, it costs me 25 bucks. We'll sell it for 200 and we'll sell 1,000 of these the first week they go to market. Because that is really, really cool. I know that because the kid designed. 50-year-olds don't know what's cool. 22-year-olds do. So that's what we're doing for our core customer. That's the college students. The big opportunity is our alumni. We've got 9 million people that have been asking us to create something that is essentially Bumble BFF plus the score, plus LinkedIn, plus AARP. And we are well on our way to creating that MVP. We spent lots of time last year testing with alumni. My organization has 240,000 alums. 9% said they spend $9.99 a month for this. $2 million for current revenue. You take that times the 40 organizations we'll have under management by 2030, that's $80 million a year from the most loyal. We take our marks and we tattoo them on our flag. This is a loyal community. So we have 4 huge organizations with 600,000 members. Our trailing 12 months is $600,000. We onboarded our first sorority on June 1st, which is huge because for sorority women spend twice as much as fraternity men, which is why we got our first $100,000 in June, a month when school's not even in session. And we just landed our first non-Greek client, which is the JCs. That's 140,000 civic association. They go live in September, which means that we can scale what we are building outside the Greek marketplace. There's 62,000 associations, membership associations, millions and millions of members, $13.5 billion a year in revenue. Each of these organizations is unsophisticated as fraternities and sororities and is unable to meet their needs. We will become the digital infrastructure layer for not-for-profits that are looking to create social good that everybody has forgotten. We have massive competitive opportunity. The only people that have the actual right to sell the trademarks for our brands have bought that up for 10 years. Again, we sell through our partner brand, not to the brand. The end user thinks they are buying from the fraternity or sorority that they love. We have massive network effects that work for us. The more organizations we sign up, the more kids we have as buyers, the more potential connect subscribers we have, more referrals we get. We got the JCs as a referral from one of the board members from Phi Alpha Theta. From the JCs, we just got a huge opportunity with another group. We'd love to talk to you about your association. In fact, we just continue to see a compounding effect as our communities grow, and we are going to have a massive data machine. We get to track the buying behavior of 9 million of the most educated or affluent people in the United States, including the most coveted group, which is the 18 to 25-year-olds. That data will eventually become the most valuable asset that we have. We have a very experienced team. I've sold one company to private equity, one company to the second largest healthcare system in the United States. I've grown my alpha by 41% since I took over in 2019. I know how to scale. Our chief legal officer, Lynn Chipperfield, used to lead the largest furniture conglomerate in the world as chief legal counsel. Our CFO helped scale a $300 million e-commerce company. We've got 2 fraternities, CEOs, and folks with expertise in private equity and tech. Most important is supply chain. And we have really attractive financials. We'll do a little less than $1 million this year, $3 million next year. That'll grow to $55 million by 2030. That's going from 4 organizations to 40 organizations. Our break even is 7 organizations and 140 chapters doing bulk orders with us, which we'll do in Q4 of 2026. Our lifetime value of a member, $200 by year, $800 while they're in school. That is a massive amount of money we make off each member while they're in school, and we haven't even tapped the alum. So because of our financials and our strategic fit and our data, we're going to be extremely attractive to acquire. You can just take a look at the university store, CLC, Follett, which manages most university stores, and BS Sports, which dominates in high school. I'd love to be in this space. They just don't know how to talk to the 19-year-old. That's what I do every day in my day job. We understand how to their behavior. So we've put in the 3 groups that founded the organization and the key alumni like myself. We put in $1.8 million, find product market fit, most importantly to figure out what not to do. And now we're ready to scale. So that $2.5 million is going to go to underwrite bulk orders, which is what we need to do to sell massively through our chapters, automate our supply chain, finish the connect and MVP, and most importantly, add salespeople, because we've got fraternities ready to go. And I don't have the people to onboard and penetrate their accounts. So, thank you.
Good job. Who has the first question? Right here, Hargus.
What's your background? I was Lambda Chi. I went to work in franchising for 6 years, went to graduate school at Pepperdine. I was going to stay in California too. I stayed 20. Started a company that ended up becoming the largest sports performance training company. I sold private equity. 3 months before Lehman went down, which was like, I took all that money, bet on black, and started another company. We ended up managing executive health programs for hospitals, concierge medical groups. We managed the NFL rated money program for the NFL. And I sold that to Providence Healthcare System in 2018. Tried to retire, got a call from that. Here we are. Never happens. Yeah, I know. Turns out when you retire early, all your friends are still working.
Right.
Back, NJ?
As your business grows, what percentage of your licensing agreements do you assume will be proprietary or exclusive to you? And in your financials with this type of product, what type of a churn rate do you assume you're gonna have on your customer base as you grow? Please.
Well, so this is a very small industry. We all know one another. We have 10-year agreements, but we are the official.
10-year exclusive agreements?
Oh, well.
My
Exclusive,
question relates to exclusivity.
yes, there are pirates that we have to fight. I have to put the mom and pop shops out of
I understand that, but legally you have exclusivity on all of the deals that you do going forward?
to sell through their official store.
Okay, so anybody else can sell their merchandise anywhere they want, but you can only sell through the official store.
No, I can sell their merchandise through other means. We control their official store.
But you're the only, but anybody else can sell anywhere else except through the official store.
No, they have to give them permission, which as we, right now, so Phi Delta Theta, your organization, I've been trying to get them to turn off access to others. We did not have the ability to meet their needs. Now we do, so they're turning it off.
So you're exclusive.
Correct.
And you anticipate the deals you go, okay, and then my other question just is your churn rate.
You get 66% more royalty from us, so yeah. From customer churn,
Yeah, I'm just curious, what do you think that looks like in an industry like yours?
well, it depends on the storefront or Connect. We'll see very little churn from the store because again, we have a 10-year exclusive right to operate the store. On Enrichly Connect, it probably would be significantly lower than a typical SaaS because we run cults where people are in love with, it's almost like a church. As long as we can basically meet their needs, I'd give $9.99 a microcurrency just because I love it.
Thank you.
Not rational, but neither are we. Yes, you.
So alumni associations, are they friends, frenemies, competitors, or do they get into your space, or you see them as a separate opportunity?
Well, the Alumni Association is a part of Lambda Chi Alpha, a part of Phi Delta Theta. They will become a part of this stream because they need merchandise. They always buy through the store. Phi Delta Theta, Lambda Chi never did this very well. We've always let our alumni associations down. This function had to be professionalized for the end user, the alumni association, to give what they want at a good price for Phi Delta Theta, Lambda Chi to pay fairly for our clients. Why it's great. So they're a huge part of our distribution strategy.
Because in terms of scaling, the Greeks have maybe 10,000, 100,000 people, but when you talk about
9 million.
when you talk about alumni associations, UT and others, I mean, it's millions and millions of people who.
Well, there's 750,000 undergrads, and they buy bulk. They'll probably, that's about a $50 to $80 million a year opportunity. The alumni business is $1 billion opportunity, to your point, it's exponentially larger. Yes.
So essentially, the Pepper learning, that's where I'm from. What about the GDIs?
Excuse me?
GDI.
Well, that's where we partner with the JCs.
No. GDI, do you know the GDI?
I do know the GDI, I'm not gonna say it.
What is
GDI?
It's somebody who didn't join a fraternity or sorority.
Right, so I'm a dork, I went to UCLA, we didn't spend any time with the brats, because, well, we're business school. But we were very proud to be GDIs.
Would be more than happy. Now,
No, there's
cool thing
more
for me
of
is
us.
I don't have to pay a royalty on that.
Right,
so
that's
yes.
my point, I'm bringing it up, you could create your own GDI brand.
Yes, we could. That is a great idea.
Okay, I'll send you a bill.
The purple one explains, and then you get return on your idea.
Next up is add zero. Move specific slides go through, and here. As I think it's Dr. saying, I'm the CEO of Add Zero.
We are an AI agent platform vertically integrated for e-commerce businesses. In other words, we create shopping experiences that e-commerce merchants can use to grow their revenue. So I'll give you a brief highlights of the investment opportunity as to why do this. So number one, e-commerce is a massive industry. It is an industry that grew rapidly during COVID, but since then has also kept up with its growth. So 20% of all retail sales happen online, and this number is expected to grow 2 years. So it's a huge market as far as the opportunities are concerned. That being said, the shopping experience of e-commerce has largely remained the same over the last as long as you can remember. So you have static websites, that's where most people go shop. And as a result, the conversion rate, which is the ratio of people that actually go to a website versus the ones who make a purchase, has largely remained very, very low at about 2% over the last 20 years. What we are doing is that we are helping e-commerce merchants create better shopping experiences using AI, which lead to higher conversion, higher retention, in other words, more revenue for them. In other words, we are actually helping them reduce their customer acquisition costs. So the amount of money that they spend today on marketing, they get X amount of revenue. If they put us on their website using our shopping experiences, then they make more money. So that's, and we have done A/B tests across several categories of companies, and on average, we see about a 7% increase in revenue. It's actually quite large for everyone. As far as creating a moat around this is concerned, it is our belief that in this new world of AI, vertical software is actually going to be extremely differentiated, because most of the large language models are very general purpose, but tailoring them towards a particular use case in a particular industry is where we think the differentiation is going to lie. And over the last 12 to 18 months, we have seen this in practice. We have seen what the challenges are and what it takes to take a model from, let's say, OpenAI or Google or a combination of these models, and then create very specific solutions for e-commerce. And that's highly differentiated in our opinion. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of engineering around these models to create real ROI for the particular industry. We are a software as a service business, so our business model is traditional SaaS. We sign annual contracts. We start small. We start with, single sort of high impact use case, but like traditional software as a service, we land and expand. So, we go in with one part of the business process. This could be, acquire a customer, but then from there on, we can expand use cases, go on different channels, go on different parts of the business process. That's a very, very traditional SaaS model. We are already doing about $250,000 in ARR. We have about 10 live customers. These are across industries. And we have a very highly qualified pipe going towards the end of this year and early next year. We expect to end the year about $1 million in ARR this year, because we're working some very, very six-figure deals. And the reason we are able to do that is that the team, of which I'm the CEO and I have a couple of co-founders, we have a lot of experience in enterprise software. So my background is in enterprise software. Before starting AppZero, I was the founder of a company called Cloud Lending, which automated lending for financial institutions. We exited that business to a company you all may have heard of here in Austin called Q2. So Q2 Lending is actually Cloud Lending, which was a company that I started. We had customers like American Express, Rabobank, ABN AMRO, Synovus Bank, a whole bunch of banking and fintech customers. So we know what it takes to build a SaaS business. So how you land and expand. You land small, but then you expand through additional use cases, going to additional business units within the company. So that's sort of our expertise, or my expertise. On the team, we have Daniel, who comes from the e-commerce world. So we sort of marry enterprise software experience with industry experience. And our CTO is Ram. So everyone knows that to build a software like us, we need solid CTOs. He has been has a lot of experience growing from a Series A company to an IPO. Within Q2, we actually grew Cloud Lending to about a $50 million SaaS business. So we know the story from 0 to 1, but we also know how to scale it from. We are backed by Coda Capital, which is a Silicon Valley-based VC firm. We raised $3.5 million in seed funding. And what we are doing now is we are extending that seed round to raise another $1 million, so that we can get to this, get to our seed stage. Taking a step back, going back to the problem, in a little bit more detail. In the world of e-commerce, I mentioned that conversion rates are very low. Customer satisfaction is generally very low. So what does this actually mean, right? So if you're an e-commerce business, you spend a lot of money on marketing. That's a big chunk of your budget every year. And because conversion rates are stagnant, which means that you only convert about 2% of the traffic that you bring to your website, there's a massive opportunity to go to the marketers at, or CMOs at e-commerce companies and take some of that ad budget towards software like AppZero and increase the conversion rate. So essentially keep their spend the same, but increase the revenue. In other words, reducing the customer acquisition cost. That's the big opportunity that you're going after. We know from early data that personalized AI-based experiences generally lead to higher conversion. And so that's what we are providing. So that's why we have high conversion. And then the opportunity is pretty much greenfield. And the reason it's greenfield is that only less than 1% of these experiences are influenced by AI at this point in time. So there's just a massive opportunity of penetrating into e-commerce companies with these AI-based experiences, just because there's so few that are out there. I mentioned about the e-commerce market being large, but the software spend in e-commerce is proportionally large, right? So this is many ways to sort of look at this market. The easiest one would be to actually look at the comps, right? So Klaviyo is a company that sells to e-commerce companies. This is a $1 billion revenue company. So market cap is in multi-billions. Wave is another one that sells to e-commerce companies. So looking at the comps, this is like there's a lot of success that has been achieved in the e-commerce market. Specifically what we do, right? So when I say shopping experiences, what do I mean? We don't want to be confused with the chatbot. We are sort of anti-chatbot. We create shopping experiences that are rich, immersive, and so we go all the way from start to finish. So, we don't just create a chatbot, we can create like an adaptive quiz where people can interact, get like a consultative experience as they're doing product discovery. Once they go to a product, you may have specific questions about the product. So then we can actually create a dynamic, frequently asked question section that can answer people's questions. Moving on, we can actually help you do dynamic product comparisons that are generated at runtime when people are trying to compare different products. So these are very, very rich experiences, which actually, in our opinion, sort of redefine or transform your typical website experience that you have today, which is extremely static and very qualitative. Moving on, as we expand, we actually then go on to different channels. So once you make a purchase from an e-commerce company, that's not where your journey ends, right? So we can then go on email, we can go on SMS. So from an e-commerce company standpoint, we're a single AI platform that can help automate all your customer engagement. These are some of our customers. You may or may not have heard of these companies. The Trade Coffee is the America's number one specialty coffee maker, subscription business. Digital Room is the second largest digital printing company in the US after Vistaprint. So we have all our Vistaprint for printing these flyers. Digital Room is the second largest. So it's a $400 million business, 10 brands. We did an A/B test with them, up their conversion rate from 5.5% to 6.3%. So an 80 basis point increase in conversion. Really, really meaningful impact on revenue. Right. This is our pipeline for the year. We are working a couple of very large deals because of our enterprise background. Swarovski, you may all have heard of, big opportunity for us. And then private equity is another massive opportunity because private equity actually tends to hold a lot of e-commerce companies. So Yellow Partners own 60 brands. So we're working very, very closely with these two. If we close these deals, I think we have a great opportunity of actually surpassing $1 million. I think talk about competitive details. I come to the round itself. So we're extending our 3.5 million seed that we raised from Coda Capital with 1 million. I'm deeply invested in the company myself. So I put in 400K initially. I'm adding another 200 here in this 1 million. And I've got 50K committed from other angels, so about 750 is what's remaining. And most of this money is gonna go actually towards scaling our go-to-market efforts, because we have actually built a platform that's live and operating. I'll stop there. Thank you so much. Good question. Yes.
Can you show the competitive landscape and comment on that, please?
So this is a competitive space, and I think one of the reasons it's competitive is that it's large. It's a very, very large opportunity. The way that we look at the competitive space is in these two angles. So one is, well, what's the word? How many companies are focused on e-commerce, right? So that's what we point out here. So these are e-commerce focused companies. And then how many companies are horizontal AI agent platforms? And those companies are here. And these are the well-known famous ones. And then this section here on the top right is where you have true agentic capabilities, which is, you know, the latest AI technology, and focused on e-commerce. So if you look at this side here, these companies are in e-commerce, but they are not really agentic. These companies, they are only able to serve very specific use cases where they can answer a user's questions, but they can't really do more than that. They can't actually perform any actions. These are the high flyers of the AI industry today. You may have heard of Sierra, Decathlon. They are, I think, you know, formidable competitors and very good companies. But this space here, we are the only ones who have deep agentic capabilities and focused on e-commerce along with these.
And are those other two backed by venture capital companies?
So these two companies are what I would call incumbents. So Gorgias is about 8 or 10 years old. So for them to get into agentic capabilities, they are re-architecting their platform. So, it's a very classic story of them having so much software and then trying to stamp AI as a layer on top of it versus us writing from the ground up with AI at the core. Both of these companies are in that category. So they're about 6, 7, or 8 years old.
Okay. Could you go to your first slide, please? The very first slide, your title slide. You did a great job. I just wanted to point something out. One of the hardest things for me is to describe my company in a very simple way. You said something amazing. We help e-commerce companies reduce their customer acquisition costs. Put that right here. That tells everything that you do. This is who you are. That tells what you do. That's a great tagline. You can sell the you-know-what out of that.
Thanks for the feedback. Great. Right?
I thought you were gonna say, is that an O or a 0, but that was a great point.
No, I'm not that. I'm not that cerebral. I'm an
That's
artist.
me.
Oh, no, I'm an artist. That's a line that it relates to anybody. So it's I think it's great.
But real quick, so I'm trying to understand, like, pretend that I'm like a complete moron, okay, that's not too hard to do. But like, are you like, how are you able to survey your customers and then market them uniquely, right? I mean, like that's like, one of the key things with these kinds of markets, right, is to be able to know who your customer is uniquely and give them what they need in order to spend more, right? And so how is the AI doing that, or did I miss the capabilities or what you're trying to do with it?
So I think what you mean, so let me rephrase the question. I think what you mean is that for our customers,
Yeah.
how are they able to sell more to their customers?
Yeah.
So for example, if I am Banana Republic is our customer. How is Banana Republic able to sell more to their customers? What's the data they have about them so they can sell more to them? That's the question.
Yeah, because in order to work with large brands that already have existing customers, you have to uniquely approach them to the things that they're specifically looking for, as opposed to like, one size fits all for everybody. And so that's where I'm seeing like where your AI can be very powerful. And I'm trying to make that connection as the capability of the AI and being able to customize those things to get people to spend more money that suits what they're looking for.
Yeah, so absolutely, right? So for our customer, for example, for Trade Coffee, this is a company that has over 100,000 subscribers. So we are able to create a taste profile for each and every customer that drinks their coffee. So when you go to Great Coffee's website and you're their subscriber, and you say something like, you know what, you've been sending me these 4 coffees for the last 1 year, what do you have for me now that's new? So we know what you like, and then we can profile your taste, and then looking at the product catalog, recommend for you that, you know, you like lighter coffees, and because you make espressos, these 3 are the ones that you should try.
Yeah.
So we have that data. So not only do we have data about the merchant, we have data about their customers within their core system. So we are able to really personalize the experience.
Right, that's our good James. So at this point, we want to take a quick break because we're going to get feedback from you guys. If you take out your phone, we'll text you to that code. Is this fine with it? Yeah, okay. So for the company you just saw right now, if you're interested to learn more, type that in and we'll be glad to capture that and feed that back to the presenters. And then after this, we're going to come back and have a presentation from SVITLA. And we've got it, will come up next. Are you on the slide? Okay, I think you're good. Let's see. We're gonna do this first. So if you need to get a drink of water now, so you can't get a drink of water.
Yeah.
Hey,
what's up, man? Good weather.
You know, what kind of yourself in, find help with this. Yeah, one of the partners that, you know, with a chance to do it earlier, but I'm going to give just 30 seconds to talk about time.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate it. So the Lion Stand is an event that's scheduled for April of next year. It's meant for investors and entrepreneurs alike. We're wanting to bring more of that community together here in Austin across the different pockets that exist in Austin. The event has been happening in Dallas, Birmingham for about 12 years. Bringing that to Austin as of next year. So we're hoping that through this network, we can bring more, you guys included as well, into that event. So more info to come throughout the year. Thank you all.
Now, our discussion sponsor, we have with us SVITLA. Shannon talked about him before, but Alex, you can come on up. We'll have him talk about our topic here today, how to put AI into your software. What? Who here is a programmer? What? Who here is a programmer? All right, we've got 2.5 people here. So this is not the right slide for me. So what we do as a company is we enable all these tech companies to be able to be successful. We develop the software for a lot of the companies that you've heard of, you've used. We have powered very, very large companies that everyone has shopped from, that purchased from, that made reservations with. We have some of the secret sauce behind the scenes that we'll be talking. So that's what we do. For a 20-plus-year-old company, we have over 1,000 people that are currently helping over 200 companies in the United States get to where they need to be. We provide augmentation services. We provide software engineering services. We're all about enabling the technology company to move forward from where they are. Even if they already have 1,000 engineers, but they have 0 engineers. That is what we do. Now, what I'll ask you to do is teach you guys how to take AI, which is the hottest thing these days, and how to insert it into your existing applications. For all of you guys who already have applications that may be already live, maybe about to go live, you want to know how to insert this thing called AI into your existing systems. That's what this presentation is all about. But I have a feeling that you guys are not going to enjoy this as much as I spent the time to create it. So I'm going to skip through a lot of these slides. We want to have to email this to you if you guys want to look at the details. I'll be more than happy to discuss it in great detail. Last time I did something like this, it took me about 3 hours to get through it. So I don't want to bore you. I don't want you guys to snore and fall asleep. But it's an interesting concept of how to take something that doesn't have any AI in it whatsoever and insert it into the system. And why would we want to do that? Because of some of the use cases that I'm going to tell you about at the very end. So I want to get to that very end as fast as I can. So give me about 10 seconds per slide, and then we'll get to the fun stuff of how we're currently helping some companies that are existing companies, some of them are here in Austin, some of them are not. And how we're helping them take, their companies to a much larger, level with the use of AI. Okay? So, we've been around for a while. These are some of the companies that we work with. You probably recognize some, you may not recognize others, but these are all multi-billion-dollar companies, and that's who we help. This is not the primary companies that we help. Maybe 20-something% of our clients are these companies. The other ones are much smaller. Okay, but we've been around for a while. We've got over 1,100 people at the company that are helping over 200 customers. And we've completed about 5,000 projects over the years. So we kind of know what we have. So this talks about why AI and why now. I'll skip that. These are the different types of AI integrations that are very, very popular these days. We'll talk about some of the use cases later on in much more detail. The main thing is looking at your platform and determining whether AI is even a good fit. Just because everyone's talking about AI doesn't mean that you need to have AI. So one of the first things that we would do is figure out, is it a good fit for you? And if so, you figure out how it works. We have a checklist of what we go through in order to determine if AI is a good fit. How will we go through it? We talked about the different integration strategies of how we would integrate AI into your systems. And then we talked about, we discussed a very interesting architectural example of how we've done stuff. As an example here, a chatbot. How would you implement a chatbot into your platform if it's not even a web platform? Obviously, we do things in phases. We don't do everything in one shot. And here are some of the considerations we deal with when it comes to AI. There's a whole bunch of information here regarding all the different tools that are available, what tools we use, what tools we don't, what are some of the good things about these, and some of the bad things about this. But this is where I want to spend a little bit more time on. So there are two here, and we actually got another couple of clients over the last few days of how we integrate AI into their system. So let me tell you about a couple of awesome use cases where we're helping clients. So there's a company here actually in Austin, they're headquartered here. And what they do, and we've heard the story, what they do is they enable various people from all over the United States to take tests online. Most times when you take, for example, let's say you wanted to be a stock trader, right? You need to have some kind of certification. I believe it's called Series 7 or Series 6A, or there's a whole bunch of those series that you need to be certified on. Well, how do you become certified with that? Well, first you have to buy the books, you have to take the classes, and then eventually you have to go somewhere and take a test. And that somewhere is in a room like this, not these wonderful chairs, but chairs with a, little table, and you sit there framed up and you take the test for about 3 hours. And there's some guy sitting in the front, he's walking all around watching to make sure you're not cheating. So that's called a proctor test, right? And at the end of the test, you hand it in, and then you get your grade, and then if you pass, you get your special certification, and it's a number, and you can look on the website and verify that it's real, and you're done. Now you have your certification. There are about 6,000 of such certifications that exist in the United States, from mortgages, from finance, medical stuff. You've heard people take the boards, and lawyers go through this. Lots of professionals go through this. So there's a company here in town, and what they've done is they said, you know what? Let's prove this whole certification process with a physical location. Let's get everyone to do it from home. So how do you take a person who's taking a test at home and make sure that they're not cheating? So that's what this company does. They turn on the webcam. They install some software on your computer. They listen to the audio, make sure nobody's whispering the answers to you. They look at your face, make sure you're not looking over there, while you're looking at the screen in front of you. So they're watching you to make sure that you're not cheating. And all of the different companies that provide that certification, they've taken those tests themselves, and they verified that this company can actually do it very, very well while maintaining, all of the credentials that are important to the industry. So that's what they do. Now, how do they do this? Well, there's some guy, a bunch of guys, and these guys are sitting, and they're these proctors, they're online proctors. They're sitting at their home or in their office, and they're watching you take a test. And they've got their screens and they're looking at maybe 3 or 4 people at a time. Because a human can't really look at more than 3 or 4 people at a time to detect if they're cheating. So that's what they do. So we reached out to them and we said, instead of only doing about 4 people at a time, how would you like to do about 100 people? And they're like, that's not humanly possible. And we said, you're right, it's not. But using technology, you can make it happen. So we're right now almost finished with implementing this really awesome solution which has AI in it. And it enables that proctor to look at 100 people at a time taking the test. And guess what that does to the revenue of this client? It increases it by a factor of 5. Because now instead of watching 4 people take the test, and each person is spending a few $100s to take that test, now they can do 100 people take the test. Huge improvement. Project is not that huge. It took about 10 people, about 9 months to do. And now, you know, they're making hundreds of millions instead of tens of millions. Okay, so I'm not looking for any investment. We're about a $70-ish million per year revenue company, so we're not looking for any investment. We're looking for companies that need help to get from where they are to where they're working. We have expertise in lots of different technologies. Our primary one is AI, but we have expertise in mobile development. In fact, I have a book on Amazon that you can buy on how to develop a mobile application and what you need to know. We endeavor on that. So we have lots of engineers who are awesome, and we're scattered all over the globe. So if you want talent that's super cheap, we have those. If you have talent that's not so super cheap, we have those too. If you want talent that's awesome, but you're local, we have that as well. So that's one of our fabulous use cases. The other one we have is even more interesting. So you probably have seen on the movies or news shows, you know, they have these offshore oil rigs, right? This big platform, multi-billion-dollar devices, all kinds of pipes going all over the place, all kinds of people walking around, kind of dig oil out of the ground in the middle of the ocean. Well, believe it or not, those places are very hazardous. So they have a crew of people that have installed hundreds of cameras all over these oil rigs to watch what the people that are there, what they're doing, to make sure that they don't injure themselves, to make sure that they don't do something that makes something blow up. And what we've done for them is instead of having a whole bunch of people watch them, now they have one guy that can watch the entire oil rig. So if they detect a person going into some room and that person needs to have a yellow hard hat and he doesn't, all bells start going. We weren't able to do that before. So now instead of having a room like this big, being able to watch 3 rigs, one guy being able to watch 20 rigs. Pretty awesome stuff. So that's what we do. We enable companies to succeed. So if you guys need any assistance, or if you know any companies that you've invested in that need some assistance, please let us know. We can take those investments and really stretch them out so that the MVPs can get built and revenue can start getting ready before you run out of capital investment.
First question for about implementing AI.
So, AI is like anything, there's all this overlap and people are looking for ways to overcome the other. There's a company out of Columbia University that got, well, the students built technology, got expelled for cheating. And what they did was taking tests, they had an AI agent that was anonymous, and they were able to listen to the question, they know the background, and on the screen, right in front of the person taking the interview would be the kind of answers that the interviewer was looking for. Within a month of that, they raised $16 million because
I know that.
they said, what they said was, what you call cheating today, 2 years from now will be the new normal. So if you know the company, how would you address that? Or do you see this as an evolution that's gonna escalate?
We enable that company to write that software. So
Who's the company?
So the company, I actually know the guy who founded the company, but that's not the issue. Yeah. So the issue is, you know, where is this AI going?
Yes.
And are people that are studying today, will they need to be studying tomorrow? And the answer I can give you is this: the people that develop technology will always need critical thinking skills. They'll always need to know how it would be supposed to be. What I'm concerned about is what's actually happening today. I have a child who's 15 years old, and I know what I needed to do when I was 15, and what classes I took, and what computer science stuff I did. And it's amazing how that art is completely lost today. However, the companies that are creating the AI, that's where the brain is, right? So the people that work at our company, the people that work at OpenAI, the people that work at Google, the people that work at, Facebook, and all the other companies that you guys use technologies from, they hire the brightest out there. Those people have to interview in person, not online. When I interview people, and I do it almost on a daily basis, I interview the top level engineer at a company. I can easily tell when they're cheap. It takes me about 2 minutes to tell, and it's a 1 hour interview. And after 2 minutes, I can tell whether they're real or not. And it's very easy for me to tell. I ask very technical questions, and I know exactly what they need to say and what ChatGPT would say. And then they start saying exactly what ChatGPT says, I take the next step.
What do you think about what I said, that cheating today would be considered the new normal?
Absolutely, absolutely. The problem is that ChatGPT and other large language models, they base their answer on what's available today. The innovation is not there yet. Maybe in a few decades it will be, but today it's not. So people are using AI to do more, not to replace. So our engineers, we use AI technology in order to produce more stuff in the same amount of time. But they are also senior engineers. They understand what the content is being generated and how it's being generated. Yeah, right.
Are you starting to get more use cases of, non-technical founders that are coming to you with like vibe coded apps and asking you to help them kind of connect the dots?
They're not asking us to connect the dots. They're asking us to fix the problem that they created that they have no idea how to fix.
It's like the plumbing problem at home, and then you gotta call a contractor after you totally screwed it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who purchase the concept that all you need to do is use this no-code system and it'll create your mobile app in 5 minutes. That's great. I love that because that makes so much more business for us. Please continue to use those tools and make sure you have my phone number when those tools completely fall on their face and you have no idea how to fix it. We talked to a company not that long ago. They developed a wonderful application with 20 people using the system. The response time is about 20 seconds per page. 26 seconds per page. How awful is that? Would you use a product where it takes 26 seconds to go from page to page? And I guarantee you they use AI to develop.
This one.
Right, we have one last question.
Yeah, so what's the profile of your typical customer? Like
typical
employees, revenue, like those kinds of things?
As long as they're able to pay the check, we don't care.
No, but with all
Realistically.
with all sincerity, we're buying companies struggling with succession, and so we're coming in, we're the agents of change, right? And so we're having to bring new best practices to these companies. We're, replacing the CEO, replacing the leadership, and so we're bringing best practices and we have backgrounds in technology, so we want to be able to apply these technologies to these companies at this time, so they can become more effective, more efficient. And so that's why I'm asking, because I'm trying to see,
So in those areas, it really depends. It could be that the technology is there, but it's not able to scale.
Yeah.
It could be that the technology is almost there, you just need to fill in some of the gaps. It could be that you're working on the MVP and it's not done yet, and you haven't even made $1 in revenue yet, but you know that as soon as it's done, you're gonna make a lot of revenue. We'll cover all of those options.
Okay.
So one of the first things we'll do is we'll assess and help you figure out what do we need to do here? And then we'll tell you, okay, for this, we need to do this, this, and this. But we love to work with existing teams, so augment some teams with some expertise that they may not have. Or in some cases, they don't even have a team. And we put the team in place to get them off the ground, and then we will help them hire others.
Thank you.
So
That's right. You good mobile add-on?
No.
Okay. Let's go to our next pitches, and we have up with us next, Worldtree.
Great,
Go ahead.
thanks, Hal. Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Wilmore, the CEO of Worldtree. We're a very unique company in the sense that we're solving the critical shortages in lumber. So it's very rare that you get a chance to invest in a company that has real assets, that also has the growth profile of a tech company, and that's us. So not many people know, or maybe you do know, but 30% of the world's commercial lumber is on its way to extinction because of climate change and overharvesting. That's redwood, western red cedar, ash, and woods like that that are commonly used that won't be available anymore. Manufacturers are desperately looking for replacements. We're not growing wood fast enough. Most hardwoods take anywhere from 25 to 50 years to grow to maturity. And with the increase in really cool wood products that technology is adding to, that we're producing wood products now as strong as steel, only creates more demand on wood as we go into the future. So for us, we're commercializing the fastest growing hardwood tree in the world in North America. First company to ever do it. Those are 8-month-old trees on a farm of ours in Costa Rica, 30 feet tall. That's a 10-year-old tree in Tennessee in the US. Produces beautiful hardwood lumber. I'm actually going to pass around a sample. You can see it's a very light but strong. Just pass this around. Very light but strong, very versatile. And so it's also really valuable environmentally. Sequesters 4 times as much carbon as any other tree in the same time frame. Supports biodiversity, pollinators, very friendly and non-invasive. There's some very complex reasons why no one's ever commercialized this in North America before. We're the first company to do it. These are just some samples of some of the products that get created. The bullets on the left of the screen are markets that we're marketing into right now. All of these have tremendous climate change related shortages in their supply chains, or they're also manufacturers looking for more sustainable, valuable kind of lumber. As I want to go, actually, okay, let's see, there we go. So it's a $170 billion market that's the wholesale value, what we're selling into. So we have so much room to go to be able to have a footprint in that market. We have 15 customers right now that are buying repeatedly. The biggest issue we have is we actually don't have enough supply. We've been growing for 9 years. We harvest our first farms next year. So what are we using right now? They're small independent growers, people with 15, 20 acres around that we purchase, harvest, mill, and sell. Give you an example, President Jimmy Carter, visionary that he was, took 15 acres of his peanut farm, planted them in empress trees 20 years ago. They grew to maturity, didn't really know what to do with them. Someone put them in touch with us and we purchased that timber and harvested and milled it. That 15 acres produced about $1 million worth of lumber. Just to give you an idea that we've sold into the market to customers like Fender Guitar, Gibson Guitar, Brain Surfboards, Bunsen Boats, people like that. So this gives you an idea of where we are right now. We have more than 7,000 acres planted, more than $300 million of assets in the ground right now. That's not blue sky or something to come. That's what's there right now. We built this with a really innovative program, and we're in the market raising capital for 2 different reasons. We raise capital every year for this program, and it's just to plant trees. We partner with small farmers, usually accredited investors, but also non-accredited investors. We raise capital every year. It's non-dilutive, just goes into planting trees. And then when we harvest, the investors, the farmers, and Worldtree share in the profits. Typically, the projection is a 6x return for the investors. And so we raise money for that every year. We have families that invest every year, individuals that invest every year, people that will do it to offset their own carbon footprint through an investment as opposed to a donation somewhere. This gives you an idea of we actually receive revenue every year, but we're scaling now. We're ready to scale. That's what we call our signature farm projects. That's with large projects with institutional investors. People like Shell Oil, Nestle, that want to invest in projects like ours, and the word that they've given us after extensive due diligence is, you're too small. We need $100 million worth of projects to invest in. So we're raising capital now, equity capital, to design and develop those projects so it's ready for those investors. That's the plan is to go from 7,000 acres planted to 50,000 acres over the next 3 years. So this gives you an idea of the EcoTree program that I told you about, that's how we've scaled to where we are right now. We're gonna continue to do this every year because we love it, but how we're gonna scale is with the large projects. This, by the way, the EcoTree program, there's tremendous tax benefits to that. So anyone invests in that gets passive loss carry forwards of 55 to 60% over that investment period. For many of the same benefits you get, the people who have invested in oil and gas leases or things like that. And then this is our pipeline for large projects. This is what we need capital to really design, develop, so it's ready for people like Shell and Nestle. We've got over 40,000 acres in this pipeline, meaning property identified. All of the high work done now is ready for soil studies, hydrology studies, things like that. One of these projects, just to give you an example, it's huge carbon sequestration. But the great thing is when you look at between years 1 and years 12, 13, $127 million in revenue for one of these projects. Only about 5 or 6 million comes from carbon credit revenue. So there are multiple revenue streams, not wholly dependent on carbon, but actually focused on producing valuable products. We actually plant crops with trees, so we cash flow in year 2, really great for the local economy and really great for the soil as well. We've produced tremendous biodiversity benefits. Those are revenues for Worldtree just from lumber already in the ground. So this isn't including new lumber. The key thing is here in the red box, that's how we get valued as a company. So we think we have the potential of the 15 to 20x return of a fast-growing company in the next 3 to 4 years, not just on revenue alone. I do say there's a very high floor to that investment into us because of the assets that we already have. It's very rare that you get that high floor, that ready to produce revenue already. Got a really great team. I have 2 successful exits before. My last one was a healthcare company, and our board does as well. We've got a successful IPO on our board. We've got 27 great people across 5 countries, and we're really ready to scale. I'd love to share more details about various offerings we have for anyone who might be interested. And with that, Paul, I think I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's the first question. So is the revenue model here that you're taking management fees for managing these projects, or is Worldtree getting other revenue from,
Yeah. So the existing program we have now, the EcoTree program with small farmers, 7,000 acres, we get management revenue to actually manage that whole program. Then we get 20% of the lumber profits. Okay. And then on the large projects, the institutional projects, the Shell is the most likely first partner. They've been the most committed and interested, the most due diligent.
They thought you were too small.
Yeah, they were. They said, hey, come back to us with $100 million worth of projects. It's a typical GPLP 20-80 split.
Okay.
We get management fee, expenses, and then 20% of the return.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So he was first.
Oh, I was gonna
first up.
Yeah, so if an investment comes in, does anyone realize the investment before the 10 years? For the tree to grow and stuff, and you need?
Yeah,
It takes a
so,
long time for it to grow.
yeah, over here, listen, it is, it's a 8 to 10 year hold. So it's patient capital. again, as we've had people who invest in this, it's people who, we have a lot of qualified money that comes in here, so. It's in your 401k, whatever, you don't need it, so we have people that do that. Or it's people clearly saying, hey, I want to diversify, I don't get quick returns investing in timber anyway. And then the third thing, you get the tenants benefits here, so that's what, but yeah, it is an 8 to 10 year hold here. This, again, we're looking at a 3 to 4 year payout, but if we do a liquidity event in that time frame.
You start to capitalize on the carbon credits that are really.
We don't sell carbon credits here, we could. And that's because we surveyed our investors and over half of them invested. One of the reasons they invested was to offset their own carbon footprint for their company, for their family, for themselves. So while we could legally sell carbon credits, it would be unethical, disingenuous, given that, like if you invested, you planned on owning those credits yourself. So yeah, here we will sell credits. That's part of the return profile. Again, that 127 million in revenue for that project, about 5 million of it is from carbon. So it's nice when we get it, but it's not the most significant.
I was just gonna ask, like, how much capital have you raised so far today?
Yeah, at the corporate level, Wendy Burton, our founder, raised 3.5 million in seed capital back when she started 10 years ago. And then at this level, we've raised over $17 million. Again, it's non-dilutive capital. It's a subsidiary, goes into an LLC. That's how you get tax benefits every year. We raise money for a particular round like that.
So you haven't raised capital from like traditional institutional private equity?
No, no.
Okay.
No, it's all, again, we've raised 3.5 million of the 4 or 5 million that of the 7 million that we want to raise. It's all come from family offices, high net worth individuals. Yeah.
Thank you. How far are you and what steps would it take to take the 100 million from Shell? Like, what's the way to that?
Yeah, so we need capital to finish designing the projects. That's a 6 to 9 month process. They've done enough due diligence that we get a term sheet somewhere in that process. So anyway,
And
yeah.
out of that fund, would you be able to invest in like augmented technologies or things that could help with?
Totally,
Okay.
totally, yeah.
I have a friend who does a similar business, but he uses bamboo. Obviously, that's not suited for the same applications, but are there other crops like bamboo that would grow quicker and offer cash flows, although not as large, but incrementally over the life of the project to offset some of the waiting time?
Maybe. Bamboo's a great example. Bamboo 40 years ago was a zero business. It's an 80 billion.
I know, that's why I'm saying, you get cash flow from the bamboo every year while you wait 10 years for the big.
So with us, the cash flow every year is from annual crops. We actually plant trees and crops together. And it's actually a great mix for local communities. Those larger projects cash flow in year 2. So Shell actually, it greatly lowers the equity needs because the cash flow is paying for the operational costs as we go. And then it's great for the soil. By not doing monoculture, we're actually producing more resilient, stable soil.
What's your risk per disease?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've encountered on a few sites that will be site specific, a specific issue like a farm in Costa Rica will have fire ants that we'll have to figure out solution for. Literature worldwide with this species, there is no known virus, bacteria, pest, anything like that. Quite frankly, the biggest issue on our farms in the US, and it's about 1 out of 20 farms, is deer. So it's not like a disease or anything. So we have to put up a deer fence or we use tree tubes the first year, whatever. But there is no known issue with this species at all, which is very unique. The fact that it's regenerative, grows fast, lots of other technical specs that make it very special and unique. But and not having a virus or bacteria or pest is another thing. Thank you very much.
All right. The last presenter for today is Zero.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Zero Electric. My background is electrical and computer engineering, skilled electric vehicle telemetry at Rivian, build software for autonomous vehicles at General Motors, specifically maps. I'm bringing those skill sets to the electricity grid now. Zero Electric basically builds maps of the electrical grid. I want you to imagine for a second that you're Waymo VP of operations, and your goal is to kind of scale Waymo across the country. There's no tool that you can use to do site due diligence on understanding what the grid infrastructure is to be able to scale. Or imagine you're VP of data center operations at Meta, and your goal is to scale and roll on Meta's AI infrastructure. Again, there's no tool that can give you the opportunity to be able to search the grid and do site due diligence in an efficient and cost-effective way. So the grid is a challenge, right, on so many different levels. There's 2,600 gigawatts of clean energy projects stocking interconnection queues across ERCOT, PJM, and all the rest of the ISO, because developers have no insights into what projects actually work. So a lot of this is very speculative. Similarly, developers have no idea when they're going to get their interconnection, even down to the transmission grid, because distribution grid, because distribution grid operators, they themselves have no idea what's on their grid. Encore doesn't know how many homes actually have batteries in their garages or EVs that are actually changing the profile of grids. Utilities are spending last year $320 billion globally on grid infrastructure. About 50 billion of that is in grid modernization. And still, the grid is largely a black box. We've been promised this idea that the 100-year-old grid, which is how old the grid is today, most of this infrastructure is really aging, which has traditionally been generation somewhere, and then transmission, distribution, and then load to your home, is going to translate into this world where we're prosumers, right? You can have solar on your roof, you can have batteries in your garage, your EV, and you can actually push some of that power back into the grid. The reason why we can't do that today is because there's actually no fine-tuned data or fine-rich data that tells us how to basically exploit these assets and create a more resilient grid. At Zero Electric, we're trying to solve that. Before I dive into the solution, I'd like to just give a bit of a background of how we came to this place and what the solution entails. So, like I mentioned, I build software infrastructure at General Motors for autonomous vehicles. The biggest challenge that we tried to solve when I came there was that we were taking this A/B solution approach where we put a LiDAR on the vehicle that drives across 400,000 miles of highway across America, collects LiDAR point data. We turn that into a map that the autonomous vehicle drives, similar to how you have Google Maps and navigates across the country. The challenge with that was as soon as we were done mapping that road, the Department of Transportation there was doing some construction and that map had changed. The other challenge was that we could not scale from highways to tertiary roads, residential roads, whatnot, because there's just too many roads to map. And you run into the same challenge of continuously trying to keep up with the data. So we took a very innovative solution, which was to take GM's 9 million fleet of vehicles that send telemetry to the cloud every 3 seconds, basically leaving a breadcrumb of what the road network infrastructure looks like. And we combine that with open source data like OpenStreetMaps, USGS, topology of the road, and use that to create a very robust centimeter accuracy now of the road network. And so my co-founder Felix was working at Cruise. Cruise had this actual problem of trying to scale autonomous vehicles across the country. And they would quite literally go to a city, go from location to location, talk to a realtor, ask how much power is available, and it was just not a scalable process. And so I had this analogy in my head that basically road networks and grid networks have very similar topologies. You've got highways, you've got high voltage transmission lines, you've got substations, you've got intersections, kind of nodes. So basically the graph problem is very similar. And so that's exactly how we're trying to solve this problem. We're taking computer vision, satellite imagery of the network of where grids operate. We're taking advanced metering infrastructure data to basically your smart meter that collects data and how the utility tells you what your bill is. We're combining that with a bunch of proprietary data that we're also developing. And then that's going through our AI layer to create a very fine-tuned map of the grid down to the distribution feeder, down to the home, and all the way upstream to the generator. Think of it like everywhere there's an electron being produced in connectivity, we're trying to track that in space and time. That leads to a very rich API for developers, utilities, virtual power plant aggregators to be able to understand how to access the grid. So imagine the Waymo case again. Imagine if you could come to a platform like ours, put in the capacity you need, put in the zip code, put in the flexibility of what your duty cycle could look like, and you could quite literally browse feeders like you're on Zillow, and you can understand what the capacity was at a specific site and be able to understand how to operate on a site. The secret sauce here is really this crowd-sourcing flywheel. The analogy I like to describe is Google Maps. 20 years ago, when you go on the website and log into Google Maps, you can tell you how to get from point A to point B in terms of direction. What it was really bad at was telling you how long it's going to take you to get there. It didn't know whether there was traffic on the road, construction, etc. But the moment we all started to use Google Maps to drive around, we created the crowd that allowed Google Maps to be so good. Every time you use Google Maps today, it probably prompts you, hey, police there, or is there a car broken down there? That's all crowdsourcing information that makes Google Maps better. That's exactly the approach we're taking here. Every solar, EV, battery, utility that onboards to our platform creates the crowdsourcing that makes our platform more and more accurate. This market is significant. And so I talked about $350 billion that utilities spent last year. About $50 billion of that was grid modernization tools. So we're going to say, we put the market at 10 billion, basically doing a bottoms-up approach of trying to understand what the market looks like. And we're focused on about $1 billion of that, which is really developers that are trying to scale these hyperscale data centers and things like that. Our business model is very simple. We basically scale the cost based on the size of the business. So if you're a large IOU that has 6 million customers and has 50 gigawatts of load, like across your profile, you pay way more than a small utility like Austin Energy or Pendanalis or Bonneville, etc. Traction to date, we took this model and deployed a DC fast charging station in North Austin with 10 times less the time it would have taken to deploy if you needed to go through utility upgrades, and for 3 times less the cost because we didn't need to use any grid upgrades. The reason why we were able to figure this out is basically we understood where it was strong in power, we were able to deploy faster. We've got deals now signed with RWE, a large energy developer across the US, which we're helping them figure out how to hyperscale and search the grid at scale. Legend Communities, which is developing in Austin, which we're partnering with to deploy DC fast charging infrastructure all across the properties. And just to touch quickly on the competition, because I'm running out of time, apologies. Zero Electric differs from our competition because of this first principles model that we're taking. So every one of the other competitors are going utility first. So they're trying to integrate with utility, collect their data, and then try to map that and solve the problem for utility. The problem is that there's 3,000 utilities all across the country. Every single one of them has a very disparate set of data that they have. So the integration process they're trying to solve utilities problems is really hard. The second problem is that utilities make money from CapEx, something that they can put back in the rate base. They don't make any money when they spend OpEx. And so if you're trying to sell software to them, they're basically already biased into your business. We're going a different approach of actually working with developers and then selling to utilities developers, or I should say collecting the utilities data to the developers. Quickly, I'll just jump to our raise. raising $2.5 million. We have about $800K of that committed, primarily going to product development, some key go-to-market hires, and then working capital to manage. And yeah, thank you.
First question.
So, what is the typical, like, power plant size that you're looking for, right? Are you looking for, I'm trying to, you're doing it the other way around, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, you want people to report, but you have like some of the smaller, like resi solar companies. Okay, I mean, I'm trying to understand like how granular are you going? Because these are all individualized, right? Blow up into something much larger. I'm just trying to understand like, how are you going to approach those markets? And what are those first markets that you want to approach? Like, is it like a kilowatt size or a megawatt size or whatever? What do you look at for?
That's a great question. And basically this is like the classic innovators dilemma, which is basically, are we going to be sales led? Or are we going to be product led?
Yeah.
Right. So if we're going to be sales led, then we'll be looking for a specific niche of customers, like that you mentioned, like, you know, the residential solar builders and etc., and then helping them solve their core problem. We're being product led in the sense that we're generalizing the problem, which is building the amount of the entire grid. And then for each customer that we interact with, it's when you build that way, it's actually very flexible for our baseline solution to customize on top of that for that customer. So we're actually able to serve a very wide range of customers. Today we're working with legend communities, which is trying to put basically batteries in people's homes, and our solution applies there. We're also working with RWE, which is doing gigawatts of renewable projects, and our solution still applies there as well.
Already started.
Who's next question?
So, what's the revenue model here? Are you selling this as a service to somebody who's developed a project? Is that the idea?
Yes, so we're selling the platform, but we're doing for developers, it's either going to be based on the gigawatt that they operate that we're going to onboard. And so it'll be a dollar amount times that size, or it'll be project based. So for example, with RWE, their project right now is they're trying to scan essentially all of the United States and then find parcels of land that have the highest worth for deploying a data center.
Oh, so then they will find something that they can get on to, they can get the deal wherever they want to sell it.
Got it.
Okay.
That's good. I'm gonna take you off track. Why wouldn't you take this to somebody who's building a big old building, and make sure they have sufficient power to build it?
We are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I deal with legend communities is exactly that, right? So they started off with, you know, a specific interconnection agreement with Austin Energy in terms of how much power was available. Then they realized they wanted to do a lot more, but the power infrastructure couldn't match. And so we're helping them figure out, okay, here's how.
So
Like a.
this is a question, this is a point. So my son works in private equity, building apartments, condos, whatnot. I'm just over there. He's got spreadsheets out there, yin yang. And I'm sitting there going, you know what he doesn't have? He doesn't have a model that sits back and says, I can pull power.
Yeah, no.
So people like that should actually be a customer.
Absolutely. Yeah, nobody.
Okay, that's
Cool. Great.
By the way, overall, great freaking idea.
Thank you.
Great
You're
job.
electric, you're.
You have a question?
I was gonna ask, what is the typical ticket size, and then how does that reoccur, or?
Yeah, so in the reoccurring model, it'll be like utilities or developers that have a huge pipeline, and they're just going to continue to use our platform. But we're really trying to make sure that it's value based. So we're not having a flat that says, okay, it's 25K to access our platform. It's really going to be based on what the use case is and how big they are, and aligning what they're going to get out of the platform, trying to capture a portion of that. So just to give you a clear example, if RWE has 100 gig of of pipeline that's sitting in the connection queue. And they're trying to filter which ones are actually going to be projects that get executed, which ones aren't. Then we're going to price them based off of that. So we're going to run analytics. What are the hot and cold spots on the grid? How much is, going to come offline or online in this area? And basically tell them which feeders make the most sense to apply. So the value is going to be based on them being able to unblock those projects in that connection queue and then cash out. So we're going to get a lot.
Last question? Yeah, it's just a quick idea for fundraising. You could go to family offices that are investing in data centers or real estate, or logistics, supply chain type things. I think you could have a pretty compelling pitch, finding out a little bit about their portfolio, tell them how much money you could save them on the next development, and then maybe get like a $500,000 check walking out of those meetings.
Amazing idea. Thank you.
All right.
I'll catch up with you after.
So at this point, let's take 60 seconds, let's give some feedback to these guys that just pitched it here. So we'll text you from this number, just respond back to that, and we're gonna give ourselves 60 seconds of nothing else. Thank you guys for doing a great job. Thank you guys for showing up today. Half the time you're working in the room. We will go into happy hour on the second floor, which is caddy floor. Go around enough and we'll get there. Happy hour.
It's ice cold AC up there. Yeah, so.